guys, I'm a bit early this evening. I hope you're having a really good Friday wherever you are in the world, whether you're in the sunny UK, which it isn't, it's a bit dark at the moment, but good news is, I don't know about you, but I've done most of my Christmas shopping. I managed to get myself some new glasses, so I hope you like these. These are my Christmas glasses. They don't actually work, they've got no glass in them, but they're great for watching repeats of the Royal Family and all that rubbish TV that's on at Christmas, which it looks like most of us are going to be doing this year anyway. So usually I like to dress up a bit and do silly fancy dress videos, but it's been quite a crazy year, so I thought I'd just share with you my beautiful blingy glasses. Actually, they quite suit me, I think. But anyway, that's not what I'm talking about tonight. Okay, so throughout the last couple of weeks, I've picked out some themes that are general themes, but they can relate to Christmas as well. I think last year was about how to have conversations about where you're going to spend Christmas and some of the stresses and strains that go on this time of year. So really, what I'm going to do now is just go through a few little tips and things for how to keep things in perspective. And these are tips you can use any time, you know, anywhere really. It's not just to do with Christmas, but I think particularly at this time of year, keeping things in perspective is really important. And especially when we're in the situation that we are in with the pandemic. I don't know about you, but sometimes I'm sure we've all got our stresses and strains of it, and we all get a bit fed up. So when I'm trying to keep things in perspective, I tend to put things under a COVID lens. And I don't know if that makes sense, but I try and identify, is what I'm feeling or what I'm experiencing. And this is like, I talked a bit about how you kind of get in touch with what's going on for you internally, become more aware to ensure that you're not acting out. You know, there's a difference between, you know, I need to have a conversation with somebody about something, and then just you feeling a bit frustrated and you haven't expressed it in the right way, or it's something to do with you, stuff that's happened in the past. But I call it the COVID lens. So it's really thinking about, is this something that is really about me, or am I possibly making a bigger deal of this because of COVID, in terms of if you are self-isolating, quarantining, if you are running around after the kids a lot, or they're homeschooling and it's making it difficult to concentrate at work, or if you are, you know, just not getting on with your partner because you're under the same roof, or whether you're just frustrated because you're not seeing people as much as you usually would. I think this is a really good tip for keeping things in perspective. It's not that I'm saying that you're massively acting out at all, but it's worth thinking about, am I frustrated with that person, or is it actually something going on with me? And do I need to like go out and get some fresh air, just pick up the phone to somebody, if I can go and see somebody else, because as human beings we are designed to connect and be around other people. So I think this time is actually challenging for a lot of us. You know, we might be coping well on the surface, but underneath it all, you know, there is that added layer of perhaps tension and things like that. So a lot of what I've just talked about leads me to my first tip, which is really just stop, reflect, consider. There's a difference between acting on impulse, we've all done it, we're not robots, where you just react quickly, and then contemplating, sitting back and thinking, and coming from a really empowered place. Because usually when we react or act impulsively, it doesn't tend to work out well. Our energy and our reactions come across to people, and we may not come across as composed or as well as we might like to. So ask yourself some questions, you know, what am I struggling with? And try and pinpoint the specifics to identify and assess how you feel, and how you can maybe not run away from those feelings, but shift the intensity perhaps before, if you do need to communicate with someone. Ask yourself, how do I really feel about this situation? Because emotions can be quite turbulent and whip us into a frenzy. So, you know, make sure that you've got a really clear perspective, and don't forget what I've just said about the COVID lens. And then have a think about, if it's something that you feel that you don't get into perspective very often, you know, why do I react this way? What are the causes, and are they appropriate? Because it's okay to disagree with people. It's okay not to have the same viewpoint. It's about how you do it. You know, some people can get very defensive and reactive, and it just sort of blocks that communication. And sometimes we're just like, I didn't even realise I was doing that until somebody points it out, or we stop getting the results that we want in our life. So have a think about what the causes are and whether they're appropriate. Another thing you can do, and I think particularly apt at the moment, is really kind of accepting the things that you cannot change. Have a look at what's going on in your own life. We can't continue to worry about what's out of our control. Yeah, it is a bit of a weird time at the moment, but we can only control so much and we can only influence so much. So trying to control everything is exhausting, it's futile and infuriating. And this is where my video, I think last week, of how to get in touch and understand what's going on for you is really, really important. So when we try and control everything, it really muddles up our life. We just have to accept sometimes there's things that we can't change. But if there is a situation that is out of your control, can you do something to change it? Can you influence it or master it or shift the dynamics of it related to the first point that I made? Can you stay positive? We all have our moments. God knows I have them sometimes. It's like, whoa, I just need to take a deep breath. You know, stay positive. If you're in a situation that you can't change, try and find something positive about it. Even if it is like, do you know what, this situation isn't for me anymore, I'm going to move on. You know, just try and find something you can hang on to. And if you find yourself in a recurring situation that you can't control, sort of think about, well, what got me here? Why do I feel out of control? Ask some of those questions that I talked about in the first tip that I gave you. You know, why do I react this way? What are the causes? Are they appropriate? And is it really about, do you know what, the thing that I can master is having an adult-to-adult conversation with someone about our interaction? Or am I kind of overreacting a bit and blocking any communication? And as I say, we've all been there, and particularly in some relationships, they have an amazing ability to sort of surface all our vulnerabilities, our worries and our concerns. The other thing you can do when you're trying to get things in perspectives is almost like write out what your perspectives are. Become honest with yourself and get a list of and value and write down, what are my key values? You know, what are the key perspectives that cause me a lot of grief, or things that potentially I'm passionate about? You know, what does my view on X affect the way that I treat this person? So for example, let's have an example. Say you have a partner who, and respect is really important for you in a partner or a colleague, and they're consistently 2 minutes late and you're getting really irritated about it. It's like, is the 2 minutes a really bad thing? It's not like it's 2 hours, it's 10 minutes. If it is a bad thing for you, it's about how can you address that? But actually, is your view on being 2 minutes late affecting the way you treat that person? Because if it is, then you kind of deserve that, to have that adult conversation with the other person. Or sometimes think, you know, do you know what? You know, I'm all for having boundaries, but boundaries are not permanent, they're fluid. Like relationships, like dynamics at work, they don't stay the same, they change and they shift. And I'm not saying you allow your boundaries to be totally trespassed, but there is room for negotiation, there is room for fluidity, because no relationship or dynamic stays static. They're very, very fluid. So have a think about some of the perspectives, maybe some of the issues you've had lately. Things with your family at Christmas, you know, does my view on Christmas, you know, and what's important to me, my values of Christmas, affect the way that I treat this person? And can you shift that perspective? Or think, do you know what, I'm actually attaching a meaning to this person's behaviour that is to do with me, it's not to do with them. Because sometimes we think everybody thinks the way that we do, and we think that's obvious. But for some people it's not, because their upbringing's been completely different. Culturally it may be different, or you know, they have totally different family values or values about Christmas. So it's about really kind of being understanding about that, you know. And sometimes, you know, it can be about our upbringings as well, and some of our role models, some of the experiences and beliefs we've had. So think about your values and some of those perspectives that may cause you a bit of a wobble now and again, and think about, you know, is the way that I'm reacting affecting, or my view on this perspective affecting this person, this dynamic, this relationship, and see if it's something you want to adapt and shift, or if not, at least talk with the other person. You know, we're all unique. Nobody has the same history as us, even if you're in the same family, the same history, the same experiences. So if you think about it, I mean, I have to remind myself of this sometimes myself. It's like, well, isn't that obvious? You know, but for some people, You know, like some people just don't plan. I'm a planner, so it's like, can you come into the middle ground of that kind of area? You know, can you shift your perspective, not to suppress your own needs, but to kind of, if you value that relationship, find a middle ground. So it's really interesting. The other thing to do in terms of perspective is not comparing yourself to other people. That's something that I see when people kind of sort of have a lot of beliefs or issues, or they've got a perspective, and you know, maybe you feel like at this point in life you should be somewhere different to this person. We do have a negativity bias as human beings, so I would really recommend not comparing yourself to other people, because that can really like influence our perspective, shape our perspectives, and lead to kind of a bit of a disempowering mindset. So celebrate what you can about yourself, and remember that other people, just as I've said, have had different experiences as you. Don't compare yourself to them. If you feel like, I don't know, you're not as smart as some of your colleagues or accomplished, but just remember you've had a different history, different upbringing, and let's stop comparing ourselves from other people. You know, have a look at your history as well. Have a look at your past and see how you've overcome things in the past, and that can be something interesting as well. Maybe look at others, not to compare, but to see how they've overcome things, see if you can learn something from them. So again, that's about getting things in perspective if you've got a few like disempowering thoughts, things like that. Talking to others is always a great thing to do. You know, a problem shared is a problem halved. So if you're finding you're getting a bit of a wobbly perspective, have a talk to someone who's a bit objective. Could be a mentor, could be a coach, it could be a friend who's just a really good, you know, really well balanced friend, not someone that's going to say, well, you should do this, you should do that, and send you off in all sorts of weird directions. But sometimes speaking to other people gives you all sorts of other viewpoints to consider. And you can listen to books. So I'm listening to a fantastic book at the moment. I'm just finishing it. It's called Care of the Soul. It's quite a spiritual book. And for me, it's just like, God, I'd never thought about things in this way. You know, always learning. You know, there's podcasts and books that just really, I think books and podcasts are such an amazing way to get a very, very different perspective and get out of our tunnel vision, you know, as well as talking to others. So some more tips there on how to change your perspective. Look to the future. Yes, the present moment, staying present is quite healthy, especially with everything going on. But sometimes you might think things are never going to change. Well, look at how things have changed in the past. Even if it's been a challenging situation, you've got yourself through it. Even if it was a difficult Christmas last year, maybe you got yourself through it and you had some, you know, healthy conversations with your family. But try and keep that positive outlook, more positive, and do the little things that really help you to feel on course. You know, sometimes feeling positive isn't about sitting there for 2 hours meditating or doing amazing things. It's about those small moments of joy. Perhaps it is about like decorating the tree with your kids, wrapping up presents, or making mince pies. It's been proven that some of those small interactions are things that bring us the happiest moments in life. So try and look to the future and reframe any negative thoughts that you have about the present with positive thoughts about the future, as in, do you know what, maybe this Christmas isn't going to be what I expected, but I can enjoy it still the same. You know, I'm going to think about what I can really do this year for myself, for my family, and enjoy that, rather than the perspective of, oh God, it's not the same, it's not the same. We're allowed to be fed up, of course, but we don't want to stay there too long. And we have to remember that life does change. It may not feel like it at the moment, or the change that we're experiencing may not feel change that we want to have in our life, but life is like the seasons. It's constantly in motion, as I said, and studies have shown that people that can adapt to changes in life lead a happier life, and very often a longer life. So it's good for your health, or health at this time of year. Something you can do is look at old pictures of yourself, you know, and think about, gosh, look at how far I've come. Look at where I was then. So reflecting back, not to beat yourself up for where you were, but go, wow, you know, look at what I was doing then. And maybe what you could do is take a picture of yourself now, and then that could be like your baseline, and that's something you could look back at in 6 months' time, in a year's time. So say, for example, you have got a health goal, and it's like, I want my biceps to be more toned, or I want to become my ideal weight. That's a great way, if you're a visual person, of having that baseline of where you are now and where you want to get to. Or if it's take a picture of how you're feeling at the moment, and then use that as a baseline, and think, wow, you know, look, use it as something to reflect back on and go, oh. And if you reflect back and go, well, things haven't really changed, then it's really definitely time to look at your values, your activities, your goals, and your perspectives in life. You know, there's more than about, what, 7 billion people on this planet, and we're all going through a similar experience. So you are not the only person. If you're struggling to get things in perspective, or you're feeling a bit funny at the moment, you are not the only person that's struggling either with your problem or a specific problem. You're one person in the universe amongst 7 billion people, and sometimes we just can't conquer all those things on our own. Another way to get perspective, there might be certain TV programs you really enjoy. So, for example, something about the world around you, somewhere completely outside of your environment. Perhaps it's something about history, perhaps it's something about technology that can really help you, get you into a bigger mindset and not kind of being where you are at this point in time, because we are a bit more static in this day and age. Or maybe it's in nature, something about nature, like plants, animals, that kind of thing. Sometimes just having something that gets us out of our current environment can be really, really healthy. You know, other thing to do, practicing empathy, think about what other people are going through. You know, just think about your blessings. Think about, you know, perhaps there are people, especially at the moment, that are really, really struggling, and how lucky you are. And maybe there's something you can do to help some of those people, if you feel that's something you want to do and you have the time to do it. That's not to compare, but to really think about, sometimes to think about other people really helps us with our own situation and helps us to count our blessings. It helps to puts in perspective of this universe of 7 billion people. You know, we live on a vast planet. You know, if you think about it, we look up at the sun, but it's 93 million miles away. You know, what a great way to get some perspective. You know, we're kind of like little ants running around on a planet, and sometimes if we can put things into perspective in this way, you know, like, I don't know, stargazing, you know, looking at the sky, it's been proved that it helps you to feel better. Looking at pictures of the universe, whatever it is that floats your boat, you know, think about that, about being, you know, just one of the 7 billion people on the planet, and having empathy for what other people are going through. You know, I've been speaking to some friends today in California, and, you know, it's tough. It's really tough for them, you know, and, you know, offering support and empathy can be a really good way to help you get perspective of where you are. The other thing you can think about is setting your goals for the year, or your intentions. Now, for me, I think this year's been a bit of a year of letting go, surrendering, just go with the flow, because it's been very unexpected. But I've still been able to progress my goals, just had to tweak them a bit. So have a look at the different areas of your life: relationships, finances, job, career, family, friends, health and home, religion, whatever it is, hobbies. And just sort of write a few sentences down about a few things you might want to achieve this year. Now, I tend to have goals for about 7 or 8 areas of my life. They may not be massive goals in each of those areas, more like maintenance goals, like, you know, go to the gym 4 times a week, or do this or do that. But a couple of areas I might have a bit of a bigger goal. So start thinking about those goals. Start thinking about, well, if I'm feeling a little bit dissatisfied now, let's not use that perspective to kind of ruin the next couple of months. Let's think about, okay, so how can I shift that into something that's more proactive? And creating attainable goals, especially at the moment, you know, things that you feel are realistic and achievable, because otherwise we can defeat ourselves. If we set goals that are too far out there, they're always too big. And we know that on some level, so we kind of sabotage our own success. So think about some attainable goals and sort of break them down into steps. So, for example, if you were trying to lose £100, you know, break that down into small pieces, because if you look at £100, that's a lot, but maybe, you know, £1, £2 over a period of time is not too bad to be having a look at. Another perspective that's really useful is forgiveness. If there are things that you feel that you've been less than, you've done, or I don't know, maybe you've upset someone, if you do need to say sorry to someone, saying that. I know sometimes we don't like to say it as human beings, but sometimes it's not always about the person who's in the wrong saying it first. It can be a great relief, and it allows you to forgive. forgive yourself. That's not to say that if you've done something really wacky that you condone what you've done, but you're letting yourself go and going, I'm going to do something different, or you need to forgive somebody else. That's not to condone their behaviour, it's to stop you getting stuck where you are. So forgive yourself. You know, if you're holding on to a past mistake, just let it go. Write down what you need to forgive yourself for, and then when you look at that written down, think about the feelings that are coming up, and sort of try and visualise those, I don't know, blowing away like leaves in the wind, snowflakes, clouds in the sky. You can say some phrases like, I'm letting go and forgiving myself, you know. So forgiveness is a really important thing, because sometimes when we know we've done something that we feel is wrong, if we think it's wrong, it doesn't align to our values, we can really beat ourselves up, and it warps our perspective, and it affects our dynamics with other people. So by all means, if you need to apologise, but let yourself off the hook. So that writing and expressing, thinking about what are the feelings associated with that is really healthy. At Christmas, I don't know what it's going to be like for you guys. I know we are a little bit more limited, but there can be drama. Let's face it, booze, food, sitting around eating chocolates, family, all of that malarkey, it can cause drama. So yeah, I don't know what arrangements you've made, but from a friend's perspective, not that, you know, we can't really do much with friends anyway, but avoid being with friends that like to create drama. I don't know about you, there's certain people, they just seem to be constantly running around, everything's a drama, and it's quite draining. So maybe you want to kind of minimise your exposure to those, and surround yourself with people that really make you feel good and encourage the positive. And if there is a drama that kicks off at Christmas, just remove yourself, you know, because behaviour breeds behaviour, and if you engage in the drama, what happens is the drama builds and builds and builds, and maybe it's not a sign of defeat, it's actually a sign of strength to say, do you know what, I think I'll leave the conversation here for a minute, maybe go out for a walk, get some fresh air. I've had to do that before, I had to do it the other week. Somebody was a bit gripey with me, and I was just like, I could feel myself going, so I just went, just going to go for a walk around the block. So, and it seemed to work, so whatever works for you. And in terms of perspectives, acknowledge you're your own person. Remember you are your own person. Like I said before, you are unique, but you are also, above else, responsible for your own actions and reactions. We meet people in life that we maybe want to change. Sometimes in certain relationships, as we get older, or you know, as we have more, we might want to modify how we do things. Perhaps we need to learn new skill sets if it's a new job, a relationship, getting to know each other sort of thing. But you know, at the end of the day, we can only be responsible for our part of a conversation or an interaction. So remember that. And we need to take ownership of it and think about, before I say this, have I put myself into the other person's shoes? So getting the perspective of the other, how the other person might feel, is great. You know, I mean, I know I've done it. I feel like, because I'm quite a straightforward person, and I'll just say things, and then I'm like, oh, hang on a minute, probably need to soften that one a bit. Anyway, so you know, because you know, just being mindful of the other person. It's not saying you're wrong. You are your own person with your own reactions, but you know, reactions and impulse, if you feel like you're doing something impulsively and reactively, chances are it's not the best approach. Chances are it's best to take a deep breath and sort of get into like, what am I feeling, what is this about, and write it down if you want to, or put it on your iPhone. I sometimes do that. And you can add happiness to your life right now. You know, reach out to someone that you haven't spoken to in a while. Laugh more, you know, surround yourself with those positive people. Stop worrying. We can't control everything. Try and find things that get you into that joyful state of mind. Maybe it's Christmas movies, or no matter how tacky they are. Be around, you know, avoid those dramatic situations. Don't get drawn in. Give a bit to somebody else, you know, show empathy towards the other. Savour both the big moments and the small moments. You know, forgive yourself for anything you need to forgive, and forgive other people that you need to forgive. And just stop worrying about things we cannot control or influence, and stop waiting to be happy, because you can be happy now. And it sounds really weird, but there are things that happen in life that a situation might make you unhappy, but it doesn't make you unhappy as yourself and a person. So it's about accepting yourself, your uniqueness, and making sure you're finding ways to like manage your impulses, get some perspective, maybe avoid certain people that create drama or those dramatic situations. Demonstrating that empathy, self-care, sleep, looking after yourself, looking after how you show up in the world, helping others, all of these things, like very small things, but very often in life it's the small things that we do, those small shifts that allow us to keep things in perspective. So as I said, now I've done my video, I'll probably watch some TV, and I'm getting a bit long-sighted, so I probably will wear these glasses. These are my perspective glasses. They help me get perspective at Christmas. And actually, to be honest, that leads me to another point. Humour is a great way to sort of, what's the word, not diffuse a tense situation. So see where maybe you can have a laugh at yourself, have a laugh at others, not in a mean way, because none of us are perfect. I always say that. We're all a bit messed up, aren't we? So see if you can inject some humour into the situation. You never know, you might get a picture of me in my Santa hat before the Christmas period. But thank you for watching. I've given you loads and loads of tips there about how to keep things in perspective. As I say, these are things you can use at any time. It doesn't have to be Christmas, but I thought I'd share it now because sometimes things can get a bit tense, and it's, let's face it, it's been a funny old year. Anyway, I'm going to say goodbye for now, and I think I've got another video coming out maybe next week at some point. It's on my Facebook page, might be the 23rd, something like that. I probably will wear a hat because that's just what I do. Anyway, have a great evening everyone, and have a great weekend. Thank you for watching, guys. Take care. Bye.